And we are back with the TMCJ podcast, name subject to change, segment number 3. We went quite a bit over in segment 2 because we took a little break in the middle and sort of lost track of time. So yeah, segment 3. This is probably gonna be a little bit of a long one. Well, the podcast in general. Segment 3, we'll try to keep it between the lines.
Knows.
Maybe
okay.
Hey, fuck it. Maybe this one segment will be an hour and 35 minutes.
Maybe. Well, let's not scare them.
All right.
What were we talking about before the cut? Because there was something you wanted to continue talking about, and I've already forgotten it.
I was talking about Lucifer. I was ranting about Lucifer, and I was ranting about kind of the story.
Oh.
One of the conclusions that I came to, and one of the things, and I may be giving the series too much credit, is it might be talented writers trying to like get good work out in kind of a crowd of hacks, because near the middle to the end of season 2 the supernatural element starts to pick back up again, which is what I really liked about the first season. But the buddy cop drama thing just keeps going. They even get their like knockoff like forensic girl who's quirky and nerdy, and which I feel like every cop series has now. They all have to have the quirky, nerdy CSI girl.
Right.
Again, this goes back to my point. There are certain modern tropes in movies and TV shows that are just done to death. And
Right.
I'm just like I'm eager for anything that has any sort of creative.
Yeah, the devil is a pretty new concept,
Well,
especially in
yeah.
such a civilian atmosphere.
Exactly. You've got things done with Norse mythology. You've got things done with like other different religions, being brought to Earth, right? Like, oh, you got stuff with like, hey, this guy's Zeus, but there hasn't really been a concept. It was a unique
But
idea.
he's asthmatic. Bam.
It was I'm getting lost in the weeds here, but it was a unique idea that I really wanted them to explore, and I feel like they just didn't. They decided to go the route of just having a generic cop drama with the supernatural element like slapped on as an afterthought. But near the middle of season 2, the supernatural element is an entire side plot. There's this whole conflict between kind of the unseen God, the few angels that are around and have come to Earth for the purposes of bringing Lucifer back, and Lucifer himself, and one of their creators that wasn't God, so essentially God's wife. There's a conflict going on there with some intrigue and some really cool elements, but it's like that will go on for like a scene or two, and then they'll cut back to the generic, boring cop drama.
Right.
And so I'm it made me start to think maybe there's some really good writers, and they're the ones working on the supernatural bit, and they just brought in some hacks to work on the fluff that surrounds the supernatural bit.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like an adult version of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I don't know. I haven't seen it myself.
I haven't either, but that comparison does make.
What I will say I have seen, and it's another update one because I think I've brought this up for several weeks in a row now, but I love it so much. Hellsing. I'm on episode 7 now. Well, we've just finished episode 7.
Yeah.
We've got Nazis. We've got the Catholic Church teaming up with the KKK.
Oh, is it the Catholic dude with the priest with the knives?
Well, yes, but he's been throughout the whole series. He is pretty damn cool.
Dude, that guy is a fucking
Catholic guy.
Badass. Like he's just like every scene before. Okay, so you need to listen to his voice lines in Japanese because the Japanese voice actor is amazing. Like he's
the English one's pretty good as well.
Okay,
I must say.
So in the Japanese version, he's like, he's going up to somebody and he's got his knives and he's taking shots and he's about to throw them, and he's like, so he's saying in Japanese something like, I'm gonna smite you or whatever, and then every sentence he just finishes with Amen. every sentence, like the Japanese guy, it's Japanese. Amen. And then he just starts fighting.
Headphones uses out there, by the way.
Yeah, I saw I was maxing my mic out when I said that. But it's just watch just his scenes in Japanese. It's fucking amazing.
I looked up. I had to look up because I was very confused why the KKK were involved with the Catholic Church, because theoretically that's very opposite, right?
Yeah, they were Protestant.
They were not actually KKK. They have the same outfits, except these were Spanish festival gear or something.
Oh yeah,
Catholic,
Inquisitors.
Something maybe. I mean, that sounds pretty similar.
Spanish Inquisition. I mean, that's where my mind jumped to, is Spanish Inquisition. This is a very religion-heavy podcast, but in the context of TV shows,
right? I mean, I don't know. Okay, hang on. So the Spanish Inquisition, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one expects them. Except they've got like the classic English flag painted all over them.
Well, there's kind of a reason for that, and that's...
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I just don't understand it.
Have you looked at most of the flags in Europe? They're all crosses of some kind. So the English flag is the cross of St. George, right? I don't know why I know that, but just that's what it is. Also, our flag has a much better name than yours. Just want to say that right now. American flag, it's called Old Glory. Really fucking cool name.
Sounds like a whiskey.
It does, honestly. That's why I like it.
Anyway. That's the only reason you like your flag. You heard it here first, folks.
God damn it. No, I think it's a badass name. What's Union Jack? That's your big one. Cross St. George and Union Jack.
Britain's flag. That's the British.
Yeah, that's Britain's flag, but England is Cross St. George. It's I mean, it sounds like you do. Posh.
Wow. Fuck you, dude.
All right. But but seriously, I think there's a ton of European flags that involve crosses. Most of the Nordic nations, Switzerland...
Yeah, they were literally wearing Crusader armor.
They were?
Yeah,
yeah.
They were... You made that sound like a question. Was it a question or a statement?
Well, I was asking you if they were wearing Crusader armor.
I mean, we didn't... We. The Crusaders didn't wear the pointy white hoods.
Yeah, Blue. Why don't you tell me about that time you retook the Holy Land?
Shut up. They're like the stereotypical, like the shield with the George's cross on it.
Mm-hmm.
They even got the fucking pole arms, which aren't really pole arms; they're guns. But
yeah.
And then obviously, yes, there's the insanely powerful Nazis who are
the zombie Nazis
for some reason. Like, it's weird how the wild geese, the extreme mercenary super group, were utterly annihilated by like 1 or 2 zombies, and yet these assholes in KKK hoods are able to match them.
You know, it's it's sort of related. You were talking earlier about, like, you know, once you have the devil, like, where do you go from there? Like, kind of that power curve there. You need to introduce something more powerful. I feel like zombie Nazis are a natural result of a similar kind of mindset. They're like, what's something really evil we can put in our series? Oh, Nazis. Well, shit, how do we get more evil than Nazis?
Right.
Zombie Nazis. Oh, wait, how do we get even more evil than that? KKK zombie Nazis.
No, the KKK weren't zombies or Nazis.
I know.
Just
I just like. No, they weren't. Okay, KKK literally was Protestant.
No, I know they weren't literally the KKK, but they looked like they were Spanish Inquisition. So,
I'm gonna take a brief non sequitur to qualify the statement I just made, and the reason I know this, because again, talking about history. in my hometown, the KKK back in the, I want to say it was the 50s or 60s or 70s, old enough that it was black and white photos. They did a march through my hometown, which was
Oh.
at that point mostly Irish immigrants, and you're supposed to be allowed to peaceably assemble and do whatever the kind of ugly, hateful shit you want. Yeah, the fucking Irish didn't want to hear any of that shit, and they fucking ran them out of town.
Oh, yeah.
There's photos of the march, and then like subsequent photos of them running the fuck away.
Yeah, I remember like reading about that kind of thing in some of the Ben Elton books. I vaguely remember there was one book in particular where it was yeah, there was a big march on the courthouse by these people, and they were like, "Oh, we are allowed to do it peacefully," but everyone was like, "Nah."
I mean, the thing is, you are supposed to be allowed to do that sort of thing peacefully. Just
Yeah,
no matter
I
what your
don't
message
understand
is,
why.
it can be.
Yeah.
We're venturing into dangerous territory here, but no matter, you're supposed to be able to do that peacefully, at least in the U.S. And if you, the moment it becomes violent, whoever started the violence is technically in the wrong. But nobody had any pity for those people, so it's.
Or I think the moment it becomes personal. Like if you
Well, yeah.
if you're standing in a street and like shouting abuse at one person, for example,
Well, right.
I think that person's got every right to open.
It's like
Kind of look back
one,
on you.
like there's a protest and one guy's holding up a sign that says "Fred's an asshole."
Yeah. Like, there he is! That's Fred! Yay! Get Fred!
just there's a protest going down the street and one guy's holding up a sign, "Fuck Bill." Yeah, you're right. That's when it's kind of up. What the hell were we even? We've gone so
I
far
don't know,
off
I'm
the
just thinking
rails.
about Greg the Angel in Hell now. Fuck Greg.
All right, segment 3 this
Fuck.
week is literally just chaos. We
It's
didn't
every
plan
week,
anything,
mate.
so it's just chaos. Oh my
Yes,
god.
Helsing, very good episode. I thought it was actually going to be like the final episode, then I was like, hang on, I saw about 3 more episodes at least in the
Yeah,
season.
they keep going. They keep going after that.
And yes, really love that. I can't remember the guy's name, but the one you were talking about, the one with the big guy, the Amen guy.
Amen.
Very cool. So him, Alucard, and one of the Nazi leaders like face up against each other.
Mm.
You don't even see the Nazi leader fight. Like, from the moment that they're standing in like a
He was the
triangle
referee.
to be all like dramatic and shit, and then the next scene onwards, it's just religious dude and Alucard.
Literally,
That's it.
he's the referee.
Yeah, I think they must have had a scene for him, and then they were just like, "Nah, take that."
Yeah,
too
no
much
one.
time,
Yeah,
we're gonna cut it out."
we're just gonna kill him off camera.
Right, like he's been in so many background shots. Like he's been behind the Nazi leader
So
for the whole series, and yet you never get to see him fight.
I kind of want to transition, like, a little bit back to.
You want to transition? Oh my god, guys! I'm so glad you came to me with this in the podcast. Right.
I'm not even gonna respond. I am not going down that fucking rabbit hole.
Okay.
So I wanted to transition back, like, to something that we were talking about earlier. We were talking about Peaky Blinders and killing people off camera. When you're talking about the Nazi guy just kind of disappearing, he's a big villain, and then suddenly he's just not there. Like, I feel like before I move on, if you build up a villain like that, I feel like you need to give him his just desserts. Otherwise, the audience isn't going to leave satisfied. Like,
Yeah, you need to.
like if you build
him
up
a
somebody as
proper
being,
leader.
as being hated, as being evil, as being a major antagonist. Yeah, the audience wants him to die, but it's gotta be satisfying in terms of storytelling.
And that doesn't mean like it has to like torture the shit out of him.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think that's-
It could just be
that
the
just
main
needs to be-
character walking up and putting, a 9 between his eyes. Like
Yeah, that's dramatic.
yeah, but it has to be appropriately done in terms of the story. I was thinking, and this isn't a bad character, this isn't an antagonist, but Freddie Thorne from Peaky Blinders, the first season.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the actor wanted to leave the series. He dies off camera in between season 1 and 2.
He does, doesn't he? He's
Yeah.
not really an enemy. He's a bit of a meh.
He's like a what is it? An ally brought to them through circumstance. He was like he was a former friend who became a rival who came back to become a friend.
Kind of, yeah.
Friend might be the wrong word. Maybe ally.
Communist.
Cool Because
that's what he was.
Yeah, he was. Back in the day where everyone was still kind of sorting out those brand new political philosophies.
In Birmingham.
In Birmingham. Oh my god, the fucking that was the bartender. He's like, the thing is, you're bad men, but you're all bad men.
Well, you're doing pretty good with the accents today.
Thank you.
I'm sure I'll be told by other people that it was not. But for me, it's better than I could do.
I got a good ear. Whenever learning like different languages, getting the pronunciation right has always been easiest for me.
Yeah, that's kind of been my thing as well. It's like, great, you sound Spanish, but what you're saying isn't really Spanish.
Yeah, you sound Spanish, but you sound like a Spanish 2-year-old.
Yeah. A very fluent Spanish 2-year-old. That's the greatest, like, friendly backhander, isn't it?
It really is. I think that is God, that is a talent, is being able to insult somebody while making it sound like a compliment.
Yeah, just leaving them confused.
Just flummox somebody. They're just sitting there like, did he like what I said, or did he just call me a douche?
I feel like you could really practice that if you're like going out for a meal or something. You could be like, oh, when you finish the meal, you're like, oh, it was really salty, which I kind of liked.
There's my sister's husband, right? He and I, when I was on vacation a few weeks back, out on the beach, he and I were chatting, and he was telling me about a couple of coworkers he had. One of them being very incompetent and a bit dense, and the other one being his boss was, well, not his boss, but at least kind of fed up with his incompetence. And the way he described it was, and this was in Spanish because he's from the Caribbean. I won't say exactly which country, but he the way the guy told it to the more dense guy was, he was like, oh, you're it sounds better in Spanish, but essentially it's like, oh, your head is so smooth, because the guy was shaved head, bald. Right. But what he meant was your brain has no creases. It's just a ball. There's not much in there. And the people around him got it, but the guy he was saying it to was just like, oh yeah, thank you. Oh yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I got a great head. Like, just like completely dense, didn't get it. I don't know.
I mean, maybe he didn't. He was just taking it well.
It's possible, but from the story again, I'm getting this story secondhand.
Yeah.
But from the way he told, but it reminded me of that, like being able to insult people in a compliment. It's like giving somebody a pie filled with pigeon shit.
Well, I mean, I think that's a bad thing one way or the other. But I understand your sentiment.
That was just, I don't know. I pulled that off the top of my head. Oh, there's the cork again.
Yeah, sorry. It's a new bottle. I can't help it.
Oh
keeping
man,
track just how much
I'd
alcoholic
like
I am.
to grab a drink to close this things out, but after this we've got D&D.
We do indeed. Oh, it's been a very busy day.
Dungeons and
Very busy.
Dragons, for anyone that's listening. We haven't talked about that at all during this podcast. And I don't want to go too deep into it, but we do play D&D. We are fucking nerds.
Nerds. Yes. I don't know. I think the term nerd actually is not really. I feel like it used to be a lot worse.
It's become kind of a term of. It's so ubiquitous.
Endearment almost.
Exactly. It's become so ubiquitous that like it doesn't really mean anything. It's like calling someone a nerd is like calling, I don't know, someone a golfer, I guess. Like it's just
Right.
it's describing an interest that they're doing. It's not really a stigma anymore.
Yeah, except nerd is more vague. Like it could be just
I don't.
intelligent.
I
to
remember.
You paint Warhammer models 24/7. Which
Yeah,
I
that's
don't,
a
but,
little
like...
bit a little bit more intense. Yeah, sorry Duncan if you're listening to this.
Oh, he doesn't paint that much.
No, he doesn't,
He's
but
like,
he's
oh,
really
no.
into it. And honestly, I have envy to people who actually spend that much time like going into that sort
Yeah,
of
because
thing.
when they get really good, it's like, oh shit, this isn't just like you being a weirdo that. Again, I'm sorry, Duncan. I did not mean to come out that way. After a bit of time, it's like, holy shit, this person's actually an artist
Yeah,
because of their hobby.
they're
And
putting.
it's really impressive.
Wait, there was. I'm stuttering. There's a lecture that I remember listening to back when I first got out of college. There was this series of lectures that were published on YouTube from. Oh, this one professor used to put everything up on YouTube, and it was something I was listening to, and they were talking about the things that like motivate people to actually get things done, like to work, essentially. And I think
Right.
it was about economics and like business, and
Okay.
they were talking about ways to motivate people to work. And one of the points the guy made was like think about this. Why do people get up early on the weekends and practice playing an instrument? Why do they go out and play a game or something like that in their spare time? It's because they feel good gaining mastery, like getting good at something and actually
Yeah.
creating
Generally,
something.
they broke down to about three things, which is boredom, fame, and money. Like as a general extent of what you want to get out of things.
Okay, but you went completely in the materialistic, cynical direction, and I didn't, which is strange. Normally, that's the direction I go in.
But, I mean, fame and money, yeah. But like, that's the whole reason. Everyone's like, I remember. Okay, right, I remember going to a university, and I was looking at them, and I was like, trying out, seeing what they were about, kind of thing. And we were doing like this little interview kind of thing with the teacher. It was one-on-one. I sat down with this guy, and he was flicking through my work, and he's like, "What are you actually expecting to get out of this course?" And I was like, "Well, a job, for one, and that kind of thing, like experience in the industry." So
I love that response. By the way, a job.
Well, yeah,
But it's true. I'm just
Yeah.
It's
And he was
blunt
like,
and it's straightforward.
"That's not right. You don't come into this line of work to get work." Like what? I need a living. That's why you kind of do. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy doing it.
There,
That's why I'm taking this avenue. But at the end of the day, it's so that I can earn a living and survive.
yeah. There
And he just didn't get that.
there was of course he didn't, because he's a university professor.
It was an art thing, all right. So I suppose. I mean,
There was a it's believe me, it pervades in the sciences too. I went to an engineering college, and even the most practical professors there who actually had side ventures and patents and things to their name were much more easygoing and flippant than people in the actual industry.
Right.
But that statement that you just that story you just told reminded me of a quote from a movie. This guy is telling a story about how they were why they moved states in the U.S. and he's like, you know, I wanted to be in the movie, and we moved to California, and I wanted to be because I wanted to be in the movie industry, and my brother Dick, and then the brother goes, all right, and my brother Dick wanted to be, and then he goes employed, and
Yeah.
but it was that like the one guy is the starry-eyed dreamer. He's out there for his passion. The other guy's like, I just want to work.
Yeah.
I want to
And
feed.
think
I want to have food.
it's really refreshing to hear that kind of truth, I think. Because, you know, when you go to a job interview, you say all these things like, oh, I'm a really hard worker, I listen a lot.
Yeah,
Everyone
I have
says that
people
shit.
skills and things like that.
Yeah, just give us the fucking truth. You're here for money.
I
Like everybody else.
This is a pet peeve of mine, in my line of employment.
Yeah.
Everyone is so touchy feely now.
Mm.
It's like, can we just? I I am a big fan of the word incompetent. I love that
Right.
word because it describes when people do a shitty job so well. It's
Yeah.
like why
I'm
didn't
not
this
trying to
get done
too close to your
properly?
actual job.
What?
I probably don't want to be too close to your actual job.
Well, no, this is a couple companies ago, so I don't mind telling this
Okay.
story. I don't. Yeah, you're right. I don't want to talk about my current job, because you know that would
obvious reasons.
A, it would be in
Go on.
bad taste. It would be in bad taste, and B, I don't want to get fired. But talking about like previous jobs, there were situations where I had to do an evaluation of a clean room that was constructed by another engineer.
Oh, I
And
think I remember that.
yeah, and they were asking like, it's like, okay, and I found tons of flaws. I'm like, okay, this is a problem. This should not be in here. It's not up to regulation, not up to standard. And I went through like all of the things, and one of the questions that was it was a discussion. There was a couple engineers in the room. There was a couple people from the company in the room, and one of the people asked like, okay, you know, why do you think this was the case? And me, being the brash 20-something engineer that I was just like, because the guy who built it was incompetent.
Yeah.
Dead fucking
Wasn't it
silence
like
in the
went
room.
Super cheap.
He was being extremely cheap. The guy underbid the project significantly, and so he was cutting corners all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm being very, very vague with this story
Yeah, obviously.
on
Yeah,
purpose
definitely.
because even though I don't work at that place anymore, I don't want to disparage them because they've come a long way. They've
Yeah,
actually
it's about the
made
message, not the people.
they've made significant improvements, and largely because of the contributions that like the engineers that were working alongside me made while I was there. Like we did a lot of improvements, but the guy who initially did everything, he underbid the project. He used shoddy materials. He cut corners left and right, and he took advantage of a smaller company that didn't have the money to really hold him to his contract. And unfortunately, that sort of stuff happens to small companies. But I again, in that, like, I told it like it was. I was like, the guy was incompetent. He sold you a fucking like shitty product, and he's expecting you not to go after him. But I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it.
No.
It was shit.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You're like a mechanic that looks at a car and is like, yeah, no, you say this guy fixed it up for you, but it's not passing the MOT.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking broke. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, maybe the tires could be a little bit more full. No, it's a flat tire. Like, just. And
Yeah.
again, this is going back to what I said at the very beginning of the podcast, the whole Boston thing. I'm a fan of blunt language. Just
Yeah.
tell it like it is.
I mean, it's good to be upfront and stuff in quite a few circumstances, particularly where it revolves around money, because maybe I'm very cynical right now. I'm aware of that. Yes, but you don't want to be all ifs and buts when you're talking about something that can literally cost someone their lifestyle.
Yeah, wishy-washy, like a little bit of maybes. Oh, I feel this is right. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You better have
I
some
know
hard
that this is
fucking
wrong. Yeah.
hard fucking data.
Yeah.
That's what you need to have when you
How
go
did
into
we
that.
get here?
We were talking about what the fuck were we talking about? I mean, to be fair, this is the sort of thing that what again, going back to the topic of this podcast, one of the reasons that I initially, and I've said this to Blue personally, but I haven't said it on the podcast itself, one of the reasons that I asked Blue to join me in this podcast was because we have these kinds of random, ranting, meandering conversations that just keep going. And I thought they were interesting. Apparently, if people keep watching it, maybe they think they are too.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I have absolutely no idea how we got here. That's just me,
from KKK Nazis. To,
oh right, we were talking about
the
Helsing.
workplace.
What? No, fuck off. That was not the transition. The transition was not KKK Nazis to my workplace. I do not work for KKK Nazis.
Sorry.
Damn it.
We might have to cut that bit.
No, I'm not cutting that out. That is staying in the podcast. I am not editing things out.
But yeah, it's every week it's a new kind of story, and it's great because, don't get me wrong, we always had these kinds of conversations, like we always have in the years that we've known each other.
Yeah.
But giving it a little time each week to having them, I feel that it's really something I do look forward to because it's just a bit of time for ourselves, basically.
I do. I honestly, I'm the same way. I find myself during the week like jotting things down or doing little voice memos, going like, oh, I really want to talk about this during the podcast.
See, I don't, but then I randomly remember them during the podcast. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, cocaine high panda or something. I don't
Wait,
know.
cocaine? Wait, sorry, what?
No, that's not a real story. Sorry.
Although that would be an amazing. I bet that panda would have sex.
What the fuck?
Pandas don't fuck. Like that's pandas in zoos don't fuck. That's why pandas are going extinct.
Does cocaine do that to you though?
I don't know. All right, somebody out there do an experiment. Give a panda cocaine. See if it has sex with another panda, and then film it, and then put it on YouTube, and then make money.
Give it a cigar, put some slow jazz in the background, and then just beckon in.
I think we're at the end of this podcast. We're now talking about coke-infused pandas having sex. I don't know how we got here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know where the hell we'll be next week, but this is the end of segment 3. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening to the full podcast or just to one of the segments, we really appreciate you tuning in. And and apologize. No, never apologize. Hopefully next week we'll be back to you with a more coherent and interesting topic. But until then, thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.